I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for having me. And I'm going to talk about a specific question that I asked myself reading Vettius Valens Anthology, which has the unusual introduction. I don't know if you're familiar with the text, but if you want to read it from the beginning, Vettius Valens doesn't do what others, astrologers or others writers rhetorically do at the beginning of such a serious book and such a serious matter. He just starts to enumerate the nature of the stars, the nature of the 12 zodiac signs, the terms, which I found very strange at this point of the book, in the first pages, and etc. Finding the ascendant, and etc. etc. He presented how to, cast the chart and how to locate the basics, the basic elements of the chart. Then he progressed to the combination of the stars, so 2 stars together, 2 planets, and 3 planets together, the conception, 7th month children, etc. Then in the following book, he progressed to more advanced interpretation. And what was different from other books, that he didn't explain himself why he wrote this book. He didn't address the text to the students, to the son, or etc. He didn't argue with the arguments against astrology, which was very common practice among astrologers who wrote books then. And it wasn't until the 6th book that he explained themselves about philosophy, about other stuff, and that was strange. So I compared this, and at the beginning of the 2nd book, because maybe I'm not the first to found it out, I thought that maybe the text is corrupted, maybe this introduction missed something. But in the following books, at the beginning, so the introduction was very important in the ancient time, when you wrote some treaty. He recapitulates what he wrote in the previous chapter. So it follows some kind of structure, and it was some logic. It has some logic, but I don't know what logic. And here he explains that in the previous treatise, in the 1st book, he introduced the educational material, and it was a consequence of experience. So maybe he explained in the 1st book some practice that he used to do when casting the chart. I was curious to compare this to the Tetrabiblos of Ptolemy, and the content of the 1st book looks totally different, because he begins with introduction, explanation, what astrology is, how is this pro and contra astrology questions and answers. And of course, he more follows these planets and signs description. You don't have the terms you have here. That's important for my next things I explain. And it's obviously not the same pattern, how to describe the elements of astrology. Then I realized that I read James Evans' brilliant article on the practice of astrology, and I was thinking that the question could be not why he didn't read something, but what he was writing about. So James Evans presented a pretty great research about the practice of an ancient astrologer. And because a part of the books that we have from antiquity, we don't have we have only description of the horoscopes, yeah, in the Valens mostly, but we have very scarce visual material like this, of course. And we have the description of how astrologers cast the charts. These are, for example, from magical Greek magical Papyri, that it's the prescription how to implement putting the horoscope. So you hear a voice speaking to you. Place the stars on the board, which means the stars, the planetary stones, on the board according to their nature, except for the sun and the moon. Let the sun be gold, the moon silver, Kronos obsidian, Aries reddish, onyx, Aphrodite lapis lazuli with golden veins, Hermes turquoise. Let Zeus be a whitish stone or crystal, etc. And the horoscope according to its nature. Place it, and And this is the second fragment from Historia Alexandri Magni by Pseudo Callisthenes. This fragment appears only in the oldest version of this text, very popular in medieval times later, and it was a scene when Nectanebo, the great magician and astrologer, it's a Polish word here, sorry, cast a horoscope of Olympia, he brought a magnificent and costly board, which is difficult to describe in words, and placed it on a chair. It was made of ivory, mahogany. It was a very luxurious client, so the board was very luxury, made from luxury material. And the same as from magical Papyri, he put stones who meant to be sun and moon and other planets. And here we have, the first was a circle of 36 decans, and the second was the circle of 12 signs of the zodiac, and the inner area contained the sun and the moon. And Evans found out that this is the description of two pinaxes, tables, astrological tables, astrological boards, which contain the zodiac, the sun and the moon in the middle, and here are the not decans but terms, but it's different a little. And we have planetary stones, of course, that were put on this board. And the second board is Bianchini board, found in Aventine in Rome. And we have this circle, double zodiac, because it was probably forecasting synastry charts, and which is this scene is also in Alexander Magni, but I won't be boring you with that. And what attached my attention was that in the middle there is no sun and the moon. There are circumpolar constellations, which are, and my idea was that Vettius Valens probably present in the first words of his book, present the material according to the astrological board. So he present what the student of astrology could find and see, the first thing that they see on the board. So it's the first thing that he mentions, because this is the first thing that the clients see, and that the thing that will be explained astrologically. And this connection makes, for me, great similarity with the astronomical descriptions of the sky, that we have usually contemporary astrology, in modern astrology, we put, as I imagine, the Earth in the middle of the chart. Yeah, and here we have heaven, and very high heaven, because the North Pole and the dragon and the bears are the places in the sky that don't disappear at the north sky ever. So here we have the astronomical bestseller, the Aratus poem, Phenomena, and the structure of the description of the heavens in Aratus poem is that the northern circumpolar constellations are first, then he proceeds to other constellation near the bears and dragon, and there he described the zodiacal signs, zodiac signs and other constellations. So it could be some mixture of influence of astronomical description of the sky and astrological one that was in the 2nd century of the Common Era in which Valens lived. Maybe it was some kind of process that took place, that these descriptions mixed with astrologers' practice. And my conclusion from this is that maybe, it's just an idea of course, this astrological board used by astrologers is a mirrored image of the sky. It's some kind of piece of the sky that we could put and analyze, and the consequence, the implication for Hellenistic astrologer and his clients could be very huge and could explain this spiritual dimension of astrology, of astrological practice, which Valens and other astrologers underlined in their books. So this horoscope could be more a sacred place on earth, because it mirrored the abode, the place where the gods lived, and as a result, this chart interpretation is not as we see that it was. Sometimes the ancient astrologers, Egyptian, for example, are presented as very profitable astrologers who want to gain money and present only in this Alexander Magni romance was this Nectanebo was presented as a very mysterious but not honest astrologer who wanted to influence the other people. But Valens, of course, is very serious about his astrology, and this heavenly dimension of astrological practice is explained in the book 6, when he wrote that the knowledge of astrology was bestowed on him from heaven by the divinity. So he's definitely dealing with analyzing the piece of heaven, although he didn't mention circumpolar constellations, but the perspective is very different from ours, I think, and it's interesting to maybe approach it from this way. And the other thing that I thought about this introduction into Valens is that some astrologers from this era, Manilius and Vettius Valens, for example, they tend to describe the astrological practice as a walking into heaven. Here he wrote about the previous astrologers. They left the earthly sphere and walked the heavens, associating with the heavenly souls and the divine holy minds. And this fact was also present, this astrologer's ascent, not descent, as we usually read in other astronomical books, for example, that in the ancient times, the description of the world, of the cosmos, was made from heavens and descending to the earth. That's why astronomy and astrology was so important as a science, because it was the first science who described the first layer of the universe that was described in Pliny and other scientists, so-called. And Manilius does the same as Manilius does. He ascends the heaven. I'm not the first one to realize that, of course. Katrina Volker, who's expert on Manilius, noted that many years ago. And he in the fifth book, which is the book on Paranatolonta and constellations, combining with extra zodiacal constellations, he wrote, he would another leave the celestial sphere and make his descent through the intervening fires of Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and the Sun, and you, a moon, beneath them, whose wandering path, etc. Now that I have once dared to mount an aerial car and reach the summit of the dome along its upward slopes, sorry for my English, and this is important for me because maybe Hellenistic astrologers and astrologers from this era has this conscience that they walk the sky, not only metaphorically, but during the interpretation they had this piece of heaven between in front of them, and they dealt with a very serious, very spiritual matter, and it wasn't very easy to learn this knowledge, this science, this art, which astrology was. And it was very nobilitating to being an astrologer from this point of view that we astrologers are ascending the sky. So, as a conclusion of my short presentation, the structure of anthologies, Anthology of Vettius Valens, could reflect the stages of interpretation, of chart interpretation, especially the first book, comparing to this astrological board, could be just the description of the board, especially with these terms and the gods connected to the terms, which are important in Valens. They are at the beginning, just after the 12 zodiacal signs. And this spiritual dimension of astrological practice could be also noted if we perceive this chart, this astrological board, as a piece of a sky. Yeah. Thank you.